everyone, my name is Romeo Awal and welcome to this video. Today, I would like to discuss the problems we have with the nuclear bomb. More specifically, why do sovereign states like the US and Russia still hoard thousands of nukes? We will also be discussing the reasons why they should get rid of them. Before we start to talk more about this topic, you may want to know some more information about nuclear bombs first. A nuclear bomb is an explosive that uses the power from unstable and radioactive elements to explode. The formula that creates such particles is an excessive amount of either protons or neutrons. This causes the atom to release neutrons to become balanced, but this roaming particle would crash into a nucleus to create a humongous amount of energy. Some of the most effective of the radioactive particles used include uranium-235 and plutonium-239. This makes them some of the most powerful and destructive weapons that we humans have ever created. It would take the power of over 35,000 tons of TNT to equal the combined destruction of the nuclear bombs that were dropped on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which ended the last stages of World War II. These were some of the first nuclear bombs ever created and were the only nuclear bombs ever used for warfare. The United States used the little boy and fat man to stop the Japanese from their conquest of East Asia. They only surrendered after the US came close to invading the Japanese mainland after the bombs dropped. They were very powerful and effective at weakening a nation, but additionally, the explosion was only half of the destruction. Radioactive dust and earth shot up into the air from the power of the bomb created a deadly particle known as fallout. This particle can spread hundreds of kilometers away from the main bomb site, which could kill and majorly affect much more people than the nuclear bomb's sheer explosion could. Depending on the dose of radiation you receive and how close you are from the bomb site, you may experience thermal burns, radiation sickness, and even death, but this is just the initial stage of radiation affecting your body. Even if you recover, your DNA strands may break, and the strands that don't recover cause mutations in your body that could even lead to cancer. This is what concerns many people about the concept of the nuclear bomb, but once the Cold War started, more and more nuclear bombs were created without care. Since the start of the Cold War, 125,000 nuclear bombs were produced worldwide, but 97% of this stockpile was produced by the US and the Soviet Union. They were both still scared about the destructive power of these nukes, but the reason they made so many was to scare the opposing side, as the Cold War was not a war of destruction, but of ideas. The reason that we regard this event as the Cold War was mainly because it didn't get hot, which means that nuclear bombs weren't used. They did come very close to engaging in nuclear warfare during the Cuban Missile Crisis, where it came to the decision of one person to launch a nuclear bomb from a Soviet submarine. Once the Cold War came to an end, the United States and Russia, formerly USSR, dismantled a majority of their bombs due to the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, but also because of a fear of a nuclear war. Even after this, the United States and Russia still had approximately 7,000 nukes respectively. This is still far too many, as it would only take as little as 100 nukes to create a horrific event known as nuclear winter, which is an event where the smoke from the fires of the nuclear bombs block the sun's rays from entering the atmosphere, which causes a winter. It would only take one nation to launch this number of warheads to create such an event, even without the other retaliating. Having a small number of nuclear warheads, such as around 20 to 50, is a good enough defense against an attack. Having too many are a national security threat to the nation that owns them and the rest of the world. In the words of Max Tegmark of the Future of Life Institute, it's stupid, dangerous, and irresponsible for any country to have more nuclear weapons than it needs for deterrent. If any country was to start a nuclear war, it would most likely not be for political reasons. An all-out nuclear war is more likely to be started by accident, like the time in 1995 when a scientific rocket from Norway was taken for an American nuclear missile, and Russia almost launched missiles back as a retaliation. Max Tegmark even believes that our luck will run out and a whole nuclear arsenal will be launched if we don't get rid of these weapons of mass destruction. There are even cases of the US and Russia losing nuclear bombs by pure accident. In total, over 50 nukes have been lost by the United States and Russia altogether. Some of them are very close to human civilization and could pose a threat to anyone living near. Like the bomb that was ejected by a crashing aircraft and landed only 800 meters away from the coast of a small town in the American state of Georgia, but less than 20 kilometers away from Savannah, which is a city home to over 100,000 people. If this bomb were to go off, it could have major effects on the area. In the 90s, nuclear bomb testing was banned by the United Nations to settle the number of tests that countries would do with their bombs, but this was also used to dissuade nations from using nukes against each other. This means that having these nukes are irrelevant unless a country is willing to cut ties with the UN and commit an international crime. An example of this would be North Korea, who were hit with many embargoes and restrictions after they started testing their nuclear bombs in 2006. We are moving into a more friendly and peaceful world, where many people are showing the world that they are kind. But with nations still keeping hold of nuclear weapons, this could halt such improvements in our life situation. In conclusion, the nuclear bomb is a weapon of mass destruction and shouldn't be something that nations are hoarding. They are dangerous and always beyond the explosion. In the current supply, they have the capacity to cause a worldwide nuclear winter, and they've been prohibited for use. So we, as a society, should make a pledge to convince the governments of the world to start a further prohibition of nuclear weapons of all types, so we can come closer to a happier and much more peaceful world. And as always, thanks for watching.